The wolf that entered the sheepfold was too large. It did not eat like an animal. It killed, drank blood, and moved on. By dawn, the villagers found tracks leading away from the slaughter. Wolf prints at first. Then bare human feet. They knew what had happened. Someone they had spoken to yesterday was hunting them tonight. They called him Pricolici. Before modern werewolves became full-moon movie monsters, Romanian folklore had something colder. A Pricolici was not always transformed by a bite. In many accounts, he was a human being with a curse, a demonic nature, or the ability to become a wolf, dog, or another violent animal. In others, the word overlaps with strigoi, the dangerous dead or living revenant. That overlap is exactly what makes him terrifying. The Pricolici is not just a wolfman. He is a neighbor whose humanity is no longer reliable. Some stories describe a person who leaves home at an unknown hour, runs until no one can see him, then turns over 3 times and changes shape. When he returns, he may remember nothing, or he may remember every scream. In animal form, he is not interested in survival. Ordinary wolves take what they need. The Pricolici attacks with excess. He tears livestock apart. He leads packs. He brings sickness and death into the village. In some accounts, he sucks blood or milk from animals, a detail that pulls him close to the world of the strigoi. That is the first difference from the Hollywood werewolf. The full moon is not the main rule. The main rule is hunger without a natural limit. Some folk explanations make the Pricolici a person marked from birth. Others make him the result of a curse. Others let the dead return in wolfish form. The stories disagree because they are less interested in a clean origin than in a social nightmare. How do you recognize danger when it wears a familiar face in daylight? That question sits behind almost every Pricolici tale. The village does not fear the wolf only because wolves exist. It fears the possibility that violence could come from inside the boundary, from someone who knows the roads, the barns, the names of the children, and the weakest fence. The word itself has a long and tangled history. It is related to a broader Balkan vocabulary of wolfish and revenant beings. Trying to translate it as only werewolf loses the vampire-like side. Translating it as only vampire loses the running body, teeth, and pack. The Pricolici belongs in the space between both. He is the body that becomes an animal, and the soul that refuses to remain human. In one especially brutal belief, the way to save a transformed person is to wound him until he bleeds. The blood breaks the animal form and reveals the human body again. But imagine the risk. You are facing a monster in the dark. You believe it might be your brother, your husband, your friend, or the man who sold you grain last week. To save him, you must strike hard enough to draw blood, and if you are wrong, you have attacked a wolf. If you are right, you have attacked someone you love. That is not a heroic silver bullet story. It is a test of recognition under terror. The Pricolici also exposes something uncomfortable about old folklore. Communities used monsters to explain real losses. Sick cattle, dead sheep, sudden violence, illness spreading through a household. But that kind of explanation could turn suspicion onto actual people. Someone strange, isolated, angry, ill, or disliked could become the person everyone watched after sunset. So we should hear the legend for what it is, a powerful story, not evidence that any real person was a monster. Still, Its psychology is sharp. Every community has moments when a familiar person changes through rage, grief, addiction, cruelty, war, or illness, until those around them wonder where the person they knew has gone. The Pricolici gives that feeling fangs. He is not frightening because he looks like a wolf. He is frightening because the wolf may be wearing someone else's memory. In Romanian folklore, the worst howl is not the one from deep in the forest. It is the one that stops outside your own gate and sounds almost like someone calling your name. If you found human footprints beside a wolf's tracks, would you follow them to learn the truth or lock the door before nightfall? Tell me below. Subscribe for the next story, where the dead do not return as wolves. They return as the children no one was allowed to mourn properly.